Welcome back, dear students. This is Lit City, your favorite channel regarding English literature, and today we are starting a new series, Fact File for English Literature, in which I will try to encompass some important nuggets of information related with English literature and hope that they will help you in your coming exams. This is based on extensive research on previous year question papers, what is the basic pattern and those topics, writers, works from which terms, from which generally questions are formed. I have tried to cover in the coming series. So this is our first episode and this is our first fact of the day, the Faber Book of Modern Verse. Dear friends, Faber Book of Modern Verse is one of the path-breaking publication which basically paved the way for the development of modern poetry. It was first published in February 1936 and it was edited by Michael Roberts. Dear friends, Michael Roberts was a friend of T.S. Eliot and he was very much, we can say, influential in making him the editor of this particular book. It is one of the most important and influential anthologies of the 20th century. Dear friends, let me tell you something more about. There is only one 19th century poet which was included in this particular collection. If I am not wrong, there are total 36 poets which are who are included in this particular first edition, and the 19th century poet was G.M. Hopkins. We all know that his poetry was published quite later after his death by his friend Robert Bridges. So it was considered that he can be included in this particular anthology. And his The Wreck of Deutschland, it is the first poem of the anthology. Another very interesting fact was that this anthology was instrumental. It included poems by Eliot, Yeats, W.H. Auden. These are the younger ones, obviously, and it was we can say amazing the particular Georgian tradition of poetry. The last interesting fact about this particular book is that 3 more editions were published with additional material and also the earlier material, and each time the editor was different. In 1951 second edition it was Annie Riddler, then it was Donald Hall, and last it was Peter Porter. So this is all factual knowledge about the Faber Book of Modern Verse. Okay, second fact of the day deals with a very important work, American novel BABBITT. Dear friends, BABBITT is a satirical novel by Nobel Prize winner Sinclair Lewis, and it was first published in 1922. You can remember the year 1922, a hugely important year in the annals of modernism. It was the year in which Wasteland, in which Ulysses by James Joyce, they all were published in England, and in America Sinclair Lewis published his vision, his take on American system, American middle class, BABBITT. This is the novel. Dear friend, one more important information regarding this is it features the main protagonist is George F. Babbitt, and his job, he is basically a real estate broker, but he belongs to the middle class, and he portrays, Sinclair Lewis portrays the fictitious town of Zenith in this particular novel. BABBITT now has become a very popular part of our language, English language, and it refers to a particular Babbittry, we can say, or Babbitt, a business or professional man who confirms unthinkingly, because he is feeling very comfortable, middle class standards and materialistic anti-intellectual way of life. In the novel itself also, Babbitt sees all things, he observes, and he finds many things objectionable, but still he goes on to have this particular attitude of mind. He doesn't changes, he doesn't basically tries to change it. After the murder, the death of his friend, when he tries to goes out of conformity, he fails. So the novel depicts an individual trapped in a stifling environment, struggles for something better, ultimately fails and sinks back into compromising conformity. Conformity means going according to the dictates of the society. Side by side, let me tell you some other important works by Sinclair Lewis. These are basically Main Street, 1920. It was just before BABBITT was published. Then it is Aerosmith a bit later, and another very important, Elmer Gantry. These three are a more popular work of Sinclair Lewis. So this was our second fact of the day about the novel BABBITT. Remember, it is a satirical work written by Sinclair Lewis, an American writer of the modern era. Our third fact of the day deals with the writer Molly Keene. Molly Keene, her original name was Mary Nesta Scrine, and in earlier part of her career, she wrote with the pseudonym M.J. Farrell. Obviously, it was according to the tradition of the time that writing a novel in name of women would not make it more popular, and she was basically an Anglo-Irish writer. She also earned this praise for her that she is the Irish literary queen of black comedy. You can understand her stature in the Irish literary tradition. Beginning her successful career as a novelist with a Mills and Boon romance. Those who do not know this particular Mills and Boon romance, they are light-hearted work targeted at teen readers, in which basically a romantic story is presented with twists and turns. Her first novel was The Night of the Cheerful Countenance, and then she also turned a very successful playwright. After having success as a novelist and playwright, she in her mid-life stopped writing for almost 20 years. And then in 1981, she returned with a bang and published her much talked about novel Good Behavior, this time under her own name. And this is a novel in which an unattractive, unloved woman murders her domineering mother. This novel once again settled her reputation among the literary readers, and her earlier works were also rejuvenated. She also wrote some novels after this, but she is basically known for this particular novel, Good Behavior. Okay. Very important fact for the day, and you must pay focus on this. We are talking about the work The Unbearable Lightness of Being. It is a novel by Czech novelist Milan Kundera, and it was first published in 1984. Pay attention that it was first published in English and French translations. In 1985, it was released in original Czech language, but it was banned because it tried to portray a nasty side of Czech period. Basically, the story is set against the background of the Prague Spring of June 1968. Prague Spring was a period of mass protest in Czechoslovakia, and we have main characters who is a Thomas, a surgeon. Then there is his wife Teresa. She is a photographer. She is very much frustrated and anguished by the infidelities of her husband. Thomas is a frequent, we can say, adulterer. He has relationship with many women because he thinks that love and sex are two separate things. Then we have Sabina, who is Thomas' current mistress. She is also an artist, and France, he is a professor, he is in love with Sabine. And then we have Karenin, the fifth character, who is a dog of Thomas and Teresa. The important thing about Karenin, obviously the reference is to the husband of Anna Karenina, the novel by Leo Tolstoy, and the main feature is that the dog doesn't like any sort of change. What basically makes this novel a philosophical work is that it contrasts two opposing philosophy. On one hand, we have Nietzsche. Milan Kundera directly alludes to his concept of eternal return, or we can say responsibilities coming or life coming again and again, and he contrasts this idea with Parmenides, another Greek philosopher's ideas of absence, burden. So these two things, so we have the title Unbearable, Lightness of Being. One hand we have lightness, which is presented by both Topaz and his mistress Sabine, and on other hand we have Unbearable, which is presented by the professor French. So all these things are in this particular novel. Most of his novels, other novels like The Joke, Life is Elsewhere, Laughable Loves, The Book of Laughter and Forgetting are novels that can be described as philosophical. So one more writer which you have to remember, it is Czech novelist Milan Kundera. Dear friends, here I would like to draw your notice on one thing, that apart from British, Commonwealth and American writers, there are sometimes questions about European writers. 2 or 3 questions generally comes, so you must read about these writers also. Our next fact is related with More Pricks Than Kicks. It is Beckett's first published work of fiction. Samuel Beckett is another Nobel Prize winner writer who belonged to basically Ireland, then he shifted to France, then once again he shifted to England, and then again to Ireland. It is a collection of 10 interlocking stories, and they all are set in Dublin. It was published in 1934, quite earlier, before he becomes a celebrated notorious writer with the publication of Waiting for Godot. Now actually it is reworking of his first unpublished novel. He set it for publication, but no publisher was ready to publish it, and the title of that novel was A Dream of Fair to Middling Women. So these are some rather background facts which you must know. Generally when we read about Samuel Beckett, we pay our focus on his absurdist drama and later novels, but we forget about these things. And there are the 10 stories are there. They are about the bookish anti-hero like most of his protagonists. His name is Belakua Shua, and he has a series of encounters and adventures around Dublin. So all these things are presented in this particular work. Now I am going to talk about a very important fact, and let me remind you that these questions are bound to appear in either NAT paper or SET paper. These are very important. It is an essay, The Literature of Exhaustion. It is a controversial essay written by the American novelist John Barth. John Barth is a very popular postmodernist American novelist. This essay was published in the Atlantic in 1967, and you can understand the importance of this essay by this fact that it is taken as a manifesto of postmodernism. So you can understand it is a very, very important work. Dear friends, Barth proposed that the conventional modes of literary representation, or we can say the traditional writing styles, the traditional way of writing novels or literature had been used up. They are totally become, we can say, hackneyed or so much repeated that they have lost their effectiveness. So he comments on the exhausted authorial styles which are of no more use. They are like dead metaphors that do not, we can say, bring any sort of novelty associated with modernism. At the same time, he applauds, he praises the style of authors like George Louis Borges, the Argentinian writers, once again a Nobel Prize winner writer, whose genius lies in his application of the imaginative to the tradition. Dear friends, you must know that magic realism is one of the important genres associated with postmodernism, and George Louis Borges is one of those writers who is, we can say, the father of magic realism. Bart described his own novels as novels which imitate the form of the novel by an author who imitates the role of author. You can see the irony, you can see what he is trying to say, that he just tries to imitate the role of author. So this is the essay which basically we can say set the tone for postmodernism. And actually postmodernism is all about exposing the role of author. Last fact for fact file episode 1 is about the Nigerian novelist Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She is a very popular Nigerian novelist and short story writer, and her two novels are very popular. One is Purple Hibiscus and the second one is Half of a Yellow Sun. Friends, this particular Purple Hibiscus, it is the coming of age story of Kambili. Remember the name of the character, and it is, you know, those who have already given exam 2 or 3 times, the main protagonist of major novels, they are also very important. She is a 15-year-old whose family is wealthy and well respected, but who is terrorized by her fanatically religious father. There are obviously autobiographical traces in this novel. But it is the second novel, Half of a Yellow Sun, which makes her very, we can say, an important name in post-colonial literature. It is an epic novel and it depicts the savagery of Nigeria Biafra War, which she has witnessed firsthand. Her latest work is Americana. It centers on the struggles of a young Nigerian woman studying and blogging about race in United States. Once again, you can say that Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is writing about her own trials and tribulation when she first started her writing career. Okay friends, that's all for our fact file part first. I hope you enjoyed and learned something about literature. We will continue this series and bring more and more interesting and important facts. Keep supporting. Thank you friends.